Twitch or Kog'Maw, but he didn't feel comfortable playing that against TSM's composition for whatever reason. And I don't see a reason the TSM would have to mix up their bans at all.
No, not at all. They like what they saw, what they did. Again, Vulcan trying to shut down the global presence, but Karthus is left open because they feel like they can deal with it.
And I wonder here, Renekton is up, and they've already used 2 bans on Dyrus. Teams have tried to ban out Dyrus in the past. Most notably, it was Complexity during Super Week. They used all 3 bans on Dyrus, and Dyrus just had a great game on Kha'Zix.
Leave him alone.
They wouldn't leave him alone.
LeaveDyrusAlone.com.
And this will be another one of these situations where, sure, if TSM leaves Renekton up, which they're definitely considering doing, no, they're not considering doing it. I was going to say, what is Vulcan going to pick? Because there's still so many other priorities. Do they go Sona? Do they go Karthus? Do they go Jarvan? I'm not sure.
Twisted Fate is alive, though.
Oh, yeah.
He is.
And Reginald plays a pretty... So I'm going to say he plays a pretty mean Twisted Fate. Some people might not think he plays a pretty mean Twisted Fate. He sometimes gold cards creeps.
Insert Dan Din cut
Needs
video.
to work on his gold cards, but he has a very good tactical mind with Twisted Fate. It allows him to make the plays that he wants to create, and they do end up going with
really good at
now.
using Destiny.
Mm-hmm. Is that a joke? Is that a joke, Riv?
Might have been. So we see TSM, Dyrus, and the Odd One looking to lock in those priority picks for their first 2. Sona, again, getting a little love.
And that's the thing that they were kind of missing last game. Bloodwater needs Sona to be able to make his calls for the team. When he goes, the team goes. And if he's not having Crescendo, it's just a more reliable initiation than the Zyra Roots. The Zyra Roots are kind of like throw it and hope because it's pretty slow moving. It's like, did I get him? Oh, I got him. We should go. But at that point, it's too late.
But I already turned around. So it looks like they are flashing around the Karthus and the Jarvan pick as well. Jarvan will be locked in. There's really no reason they shouldn't take that. They can just continuously pressure the way they like to.
And you could tell the priority for Reginald to have Karthus was really high. He really wanted that one. A lot of people on Twitter were calling for a Karthus ban just because of how important it seems to be to TSM strategies lately. They picked Karthus 3 times during their 5-0 streak in Super Week. They picked it last game when they were highly successful. And I wonder if Mandatory Cloud's going to try to pick Diana or something into this because that's his other kind of really good champion. I'm wondering if they were expecting that Karthus pick and if they have an answer for it.
I don't know. Like you said, Diana might be picked. The Lee Sin was played the other day, and I actually talked to Smithy about it. I was like, you picked Lee Sin. Was it anything onto Chaucer or not? He's like, no, we play Lee Sin in practice a lot, and we beat Dignitas with it. We beat other teams with it. It just didn't work out for either team yesterday.
Not even close to working out.
No.
The Lee Sin picks were not working out in 3 games all of yesterday. And I really wonder if Vulcan's going to be going with something a little bit crazy. I haven't seen Zuna play Draven at all. And wow, they do swap around here. That's interesting.
I guess Jace has a dive buddy, but it's not. They're not really dive buddies. They're kind of like telegraph this fight. It's coming in.
And we're not 100% sure where that Jace is going. It could be a mandatory Cloud Jace.
True.
We have seen some Jace mid in the past, and the Lee Sin really just kind of tells them, hey guys, we're probably going for a lot of early pressure. TSM punched him in the face a little bit early last game and left it available. So what is TSM going to go after it? Are they going to do early game of their own?
Thresh and Sona, the ones to be picked around. Last Super Week, X Special only played Sona, but we know he can play Thresh.
And Wild Turtle also the most, well, Draven is Wild Turtle's most played AD carry in the LCS. I don't think he's lost a game with him. They combo that with Thresh, and that is now a very mean lane to try to go against. Sona, you get hooked once Bloodwater and you're dead. Zuna's also going to probably have to pick some kind of hyper carry, even with Tristana not being up there. It's so weird because they've picked the Lee Sin already, which doesn't necessarily signal great late game scaling from the jungle. Are they going to try to balance it out by going with a late game AD carry, or are they going to go with MF again and just try to win it early?
I was just about to say Kog'Maw. He has fared well on Kog'Maw a few times, but it's also gone back at him because of the non-escape, because of the danger you get while playing Kog'Maw.
He needs to be able to get to that point in the game where he can just kill everyone, but Reginald's going to be in his face the whole time. Autumn's going to be jumping in on top of him, and Wild Turtle, if he gets the opportunity to, is going to be running straight at him for the majority of the game. I do like the Diana pick as well, coming in probably for Mandatory Cloud, because that's something he's very comfortable with. That's something they had a lot of victory with yesterday, and he's been solid on it all year.
If Reginald plays quite a bit of Diana, did play it in Super Week, so he knows how to play against it, but obviously ManCloud has been playing a whole handful of Karthus, so these two are kind of, they know exactly what they're getting themselves into.
They're in sync with each other in a sense. They're such good mid-lane players right now. It's fitting that they're playing here in the semifinals of the playoffs.
Oh, just lock in the Ken and do it.
Just lock in the Rumble instead.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, Ken's actually really huge over in the Olympus Champion Spring. In Korea,
just
but
play it.
It's not something Dyrus needs to do. He's comfortable in Rumble.
They call him the hamster. Special.
They don't call.
All right, back to Dyrus Rumble.
Yeah, the Dyrus is definitely not the hamster. He's a big hamster.
So Dyrus goes again for the Rumble. Could be thrown back into the 2v1 as these guys swap around. Actually, look what they have going. We'll see if they flip it back. They probably will.
Yeah, there's a chance they'll flip him back. I'd expect them to flip him back, but if they didn't, that would be the mind games coming in right there, because I'm expecting Dyrus to maybe not even bring magic resistance on his Rumble page, try to kind of go all in, knowing he's going to be in 1v2s. I'm going to check that, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going for it.
Take a look-see. I was like, wait, weak?
Maybe not.
Click that.
He's got a standard room page. Ability power quints, magic resist blues, armor yellows, and magic pen reds. And it's there.
Fair enough. So as we start up and lock into this game, it's going to be the second matchup, Team Solo Mid versus Vulcan. Vulcan fighting for their lives. Team Solo Mid on your screen right there. And we saw this kind of with the other teams yesterday, the more experienced or veteran teams, if you will, that win, very just calm. We won, let's do it again. The younger teams riding the waves so much, and Vulcan's looking to find that wave right now in this game too.
And it may be one of these situations where they had their eyes on different prizes, because TSM comes in as the #1 team in the LCS saying, we need first place in the playoffs. We're going to win the spring split. They knew going into this that they were into the summer split already. And Vulcan, I think, was just fighting to not get dropped in the summer promotion. They may have already gotten their prize, and now they're just playing with house money. So there might be different mindsets entirely for these teams.
Let's see what kind of hands they decide to show in this game. We'll have to see if they put all the cards on the table right away. We go Thresh Elixir, Wild Turtle Elixir to start off. It looks like they want the 2v2 lane. They want that Sona.
And I wonder if that means TSM is going to be sending Draven Thresh bottom. A lot of times the red teams will not be going for that, but with those Elixir choices, they really want to fight. And maybe, we mentioned last game, TSM mixes up their level 1s quite frequently. This time they have all 5 people together going down the line.
Looks like Psycho Sid stuck with Diana. We have ManCloud on Jace, and if that's the matchup, he could easily all-in Karthus it too.
And what TSM is going to be doing here in the jungle is they're going to brute force their way through, probably drop 2 wards in the area. I wouldn't be surprised. No, they don't even have the pink ward to be able to clean that one out. I guess they just have the 1 ward. They're trying to keep track of xSmithy early game.
So we see Reginald going for Flask this game, not something he buys too much. Well, obviously on that Karthus, he's going to want to stay sustained in lane. You see wards and the regular blue-red pots are for Mandatory Cloud. So we look around, everybody's getting their orthodox starts in the jungle. Help to the junglers goes out. xSmithy looks to just sit off on the backside of this one. They are playing very safe.
And TSM has going to opt into this 2v2 lane. They're not even going to take extra experience here. Maybe they're going for a delayed invade and trying to harass the double golems. I'm not really sure what they have planned here. Maybe Wild Turtle and X Special. I've seen this play, actually. This is really clever. What they do is they wait for Zuna and Bloodwater come into lane, and since they've given them the double golems, they're already a little bit low. Then they try to land the hook onto the lowest target and just burst him down before he can get away.
This is the re-strategized and revisited level 15 strategy.
Oh yeah, it's the first game anyone ever plays League of Legends are like, really, they're invisible in that brush? How am I supposed to know that?
There's
and
5 of them.
It happens even at the highest level of play.
So we'll see xSmithy getting some help, a lot of help here. The Bio-Arcane Barrage going off actually for Azuna to get some damage out and start swapping around.
And I want to see how much patience Wild Turtle and X Special have here, because they're actually losing last hits for the potential of this happening. Wild Turtle, don't get impatient, man. Slow and steady wins the race.
There they are.
No!
Oh, so close. Man.
It would have worked. Zuna and Bloodwater were running up to the creep wave. Too juicy. Those creep waves were too juicy for
1
him.
CS for first blood. We know
Oh,
that.
man!
Oh, they get the hook still. The red pots do not go off yet. They still hold that on, and there it is. xSmithy kind of reads it in. He gets the last hit. Special going deep for the first one. First blood as well, so the assist going to Turtle.
That's still not the best for TSM, though, because the counter gank was there. So Vulcan, even though they checked the lane, knew that that fight was going to be coming, and X Special kind of got baited right in by xSmithy being there.
So that's going to be good for them. Switching it around, we'll have to see where those buffs went. So it looks like they do still carry the red buff onto xSmithy. He did not go down that fight just to kill for him. Zuna's going to be looking to get himself back into this one, but right now 2v1 as the odd one sits down in the bottom lane waiting to re-pressure this lane.
The odd one got a real quick double buff here, and he's just trying to get this happening as quickly as possible. However, the lane is shoving for TSM, so there's no reason for Zuna to actually get into flag toss range. He's actually hoping the Lee Sin is down there for another gank, and that's just not the case.
Well, he's going to have Bloodwater coming up on the backside. They have to be careful in this bottom lane. A level 1-0 Summoner Sona returns to the battle.
Odd one, I think, managed to sneak into that next brush without detection. Yep. So if he lands a flag toss now, knowing the Bloodwater has no flash and no heal, they'd be able to kill him. But this is a very strange move. I wonder if they're actually just going to try to move up and brute force a tower dive, because they're giving Lee Sin so much time to react.
And you see Bloodwater knows he doesn't have to get any farther out to soak up experience. The wave's pushing too hard. Good damage between the top laners here as they're left on an island for themselves in the AP fight.
Very straight up lanes. It's normally an AP fight. Mandatory Cloud got the early blue buff, so that was actually one of those double buff starts again for Vulcan that they did all of their games against COG, trying to give Mandatory Cloud that edge in the mid lane. And this time, Odd1 spent his time bottom instead of mid, so Mandatory Cloud not getting shut down yet, but also not getting an edge on Reginald despite that blue buff early.
Looking around to see what kind of buys we have going on. Dyrus actually picking up that rejuve bead to start off, so he keeps some HP on his side. More aggression coming in. Mandatory Cloud using that blue buff to full extent to continuously poke and just try to get Reginald to blow that mana bar.
So I think that blue buff is already gone now for Mandatory Cloud. No, not quite. I'm totally wrong. He's got about a minute left on that blue buff, but he hasn't been able to take advantage of it yet with that CS being pretty much even.
Good back and forth. The shields mitigating good damage as they go in on each other each time. But you're going to see some movement here from Xmithie as he heads towards the Wraith side. Doesn't look like they're going to get too much pressure on Reginald, but they are going to start trying to deny or get vision and figure out what's going down in the movement of Odd1.
And the biggest thing that that blue buff has accomplished for them is it's allowed Mandatory Cloud to keep that lane pushed up, which makes it safer for Xmithie to run through the jungle. Odd1 predicted this, though, and we could see a 2v2 counter gank. Don't know who's going to come on top of this. Dyrus is at full health.
He flies in with a flash to start the fight. No mana for Psycho Sid. He's super engaged on this one. All in. The Ignite is down, but there's no long-range attacks to finish it off.
But even so, that's a flash down now for Psycho Sid, and he has to shop. So the patience of the Odd1 waiting in that top lane, switching it up from the last game, not even sitting mid at all, and instead camping Dyrus' lane, catches Vulcan completely unaware.
Still trying to be just harassy in mid. Mandatory Cloud doing shock blasts from the Fog of War. Bottom lane pushing 32 to 28 in CS there. The Red Elixir start to the Doran start is what we see between those two AD carries.
And Wild Turtle, unlike X Special, hasn't had to burn his Red Elixir at all so far. He's got that 7 minion kill advantage, and when they do decide to go all in, he's got the double bait because he can pop his Red Elixir for health, and he also still has barrier, so it's going to make it very difficult for Vulcan to properly judge aggression on Wild Turtle.
So Zuna quite happy with where they are right now. They're not trying to do too much engagement. Level 4s leaves them very squishy against the lane that they have. You can see Zuna just backing up every time Wild Turtle takes that forward step.
They're very scared of the axe threat. His Draven is so intimidating, always spinning those double axes, catching them both. And the lane is actually shoved up really, really far, considering they just have that one ward in the Triangle Brush. But Xmithie, aside from that first gank, has not been able to punish this aggression from TSM.
A lot of safety here for TSM as they pressure onto the turret just because of pressure everywhere. We see Reginald by himself in mid, so they're going to have to be wary of where Mandatory Cloud is, however.
It's like hypnotizing watching Draven catch those axes over and over again. He just catches every single one without even trying. But Dyrus hits 6, Psycho Sid hits 6. Big thing is Psycho Sid would actually have a bit more combat effectiveness with the double Doran's Ring right now compared to Dyrus, who's just gotten that amplifying tome, but I don't think there's going to be much aggression after that Psycho Sid kind of flash into a counter game.
So we got the tier stack going on Jace. Still the only kills in the game. 1-to-1 go to Zuna, and actually Special on support because of his flash auto attack attempt to really pick up that first blood. So coming into lane, actually use that to go with the Ruby Crystal, so we'll have a Sightstone quite early. If they can really get any type of snowball here, they can press that advantage if they can keep the vision.
It's one of those things, if you fall behind to a Thresh lane, you just continue to fall behind to a Thresh lane, and that's what TSM was really trying to do at the start of that game. It was very good of Xmithie and Vulcan to kind of predict that and allow them to at least stay a little bit even in that lane, because Zuna needs to hit late game. If Kog'Maw hits late game, he's way better than a Draven. It's just for the first 20 or 30 minutes, the Draven's got the edge.
So Xmithie goes, Knots Dragon a few times, puts down a pink ward to see if he can get any movement out of the lanes. Doesn't look like they're going to get too much, but ManCloud looks to steal away the blue from Reginald. It went to Xmithie on that one, but that's still going to be Reggie without a blue.
That was curious. He used his smite. He was very afraid that Reginald was going to steal it away.
Maybe he won't lose a blue. This could be bad.
And Xmithie has to burn his ultimate to get away from Reginald, as well as having to burn his smite to deny the blue from Mandatory Cloud. But it was actually a blue denial of Reginald anyway, so I can see the smite very securing that one, knowing that Mandatory Cloud can go over and get his own blue, and then it's essentially just trying to keep Reginald Turtle at his turret.
Very nice moves by Mandatory Cloud and team. They did this against Counterlogic Gaming quite a few times consecutively. It's something in the beginning of the season we'd see teams pay attention to, but then kind of let it, you know, fall to the wayside. These guys are really keeping track of the buffs well now.
And TSM are the ones who essentially invented buff timing. The Odd One was one of the first people to just always type 707 their blue, 707 our. He even does it in solo queue constantly to make sure he's doing it. So it is a little bit surprising that Vulcan jumped on him and managed to steal their second blue buff. It's one of the advantages for Vulcan of doing the double buff start. They just have a different syncing of their own buffs, so it gives them more room to invade the enemy.
Exactly. TSM has been one of those teams to say, yeah, we'll give up a dragon if we're going to lose people. But you're right. They usually keep retain their own buffs, rather. So 9 minutes in here, 11.7, pretty much even across the board. No turrets. There's a bit of a gold lead just in the few CS here because of kills and whatnot. But Vulcan's actually holding 100 gold lead with losing first blood.
And this is an example down bottom of Vulcan not having brush control because the lane pushed through and they don't have wards in the forward brush for X special, so they're essentially getting zoned out in that bottom lane until they get some help.
Psycho Sid going head-to-head with Dyrus in the top lane for a bit of damage trade there as they farm it out. Reginald pushed back to his turret once again. He's easily able to farm now that he's got a little bit of power under that Q and leveled up. Just waiting on the backside. Xmithy is going to be seen by the ward.
An Odd One was waiting for a counter gank up top, but now might just be able to shove it in the turret. Meanwhile, Xmithy just kind of camping bot lane, hoping he'd be able to sneak up. I don't think they realize there's that deep ward, and they're hoping that he's able to come up long through the lane, but TSM knows exactly where they are.
Yeah, he's going to be, so you can see him just on the edge. There is no trickery happening in this one. And Bloodwater's kind of sitting in the bush, too, trying to bait it out, saying, we don't know, you don't know where I am. It looks like he did dive in that bottom lane. Nothing's going to happen, though, and they pressure top.
It's a matter of getting denied for Psycho Sid. This is one of those games from the Odd One where he's just letting Reginald roam free, and instead he's helping the other lane. So it's paying off in a few ways, but Mandatory Cloud has the edge on Reginald, whereas he's given Dyrus and Turtle the edge.
Really not a lot of testing or trying going out in this one. We don't even have turrets down. We're at 10 minutes. A big fight here between both of the mids. The exhaust goes down. He flashes away from the damage. No mana for Reginald as he flashes in. He wanted that blue. The Requiem, though, is what he wanted, but it's not going to be enough. As calculated, Xmithy goes in on the Q. The resonating strike hits. Wild Turtle on the backside. There's the bait you're talking about. He throws on, but he gets the Bio Arcane Barrage shot in. A great job coming from Zuna, and it looks like they're able to pick up 3 kills for nothing on TSM across the board.
Wow, so great play by Vulcan there. Mandatory Cloud, even though he missed that one shock blast, it almost made Reginald go all in. It also made the Requiem get timed in a strange way, and that's exactly when Xmithy decided to run up the lane. Even though that was through wards, TSM just kind of took him on in the turret thinking they'd be able to handle it, but they were wrong even with the Requiem. I have to say that was just superior play by Vulcan mechanically in those fights to get the 3-0 split.
Creating extended pressure, working out for Vulcan. They start to pressure turrets. TSM looks to answer with a mid turret here, but Mandatory Cloud coming back to lane instantly. The blue buff, he thinks he can fight it on. There is going to be Xmithy on the backside, forcing the flash onto the Odd One, and that takes away a big part of job initiation.
And immediately the pressure just seems to be flying back for Vulcan, knowing that they just pushed the Odd One back to his base, and knowing that Reginald is top lane without a Requiem. This looks like a Vulcan Dragon they can just pick up for free.
We'll have to see what they can do with this gold. Gonna have to back after this one, get some buys under their belt. Zuna is sitting on 3 kills to himself. Once he gets fed on those hyper carries early game, it turns him into that hyper carry now. So it's gonna be very big for him. We're probably gonna start hearing those lungs pretty soon.
Really fed Kog'Maw right now. And that's gonna be so important. And you can see the pressure advantage already taking hold as Xmithy lands that Q and goes.
He goes in for some damage there, kind of getting out for the auto attack. They're just toying with this bottom lane here, but they don't want to make mistakes as well, so they're kind of taking that into consideration.
Lee Sin just being Lee Sin. He lands the Q. I gotta activate it, man. Okay, I'm back out. Oh man, this is bad.
This is gonna be hard. There's that percent damage from the E and the quick crescent to take him out. Man, the Cloud so close. No Requiem this time.
Dyrus is a little bit on the hunt. He still has flash, but he's just not even thinking about it.
That Dyrus ultimate still has half time to tick back. And it looks like he's going to try to get speed with Scrap Shield here. Will he try to continue with the Harpoon shots? It looks like they could go 2v1 onto him. That Flame Spreader is going to do a lot of AoE damage, and they don't want to mess with it.
And you can see the pressure is completely flipped into Vulcan. I mean, ManCloud's been able to roam around. Dyrus actually used that ultimate to clear a wave in mid just because there was too much pressure coming down to them. And Reginald found himself top lane where he was just as a victim to getting killed by a roaming Mandatory Cloud. And then Psycho Sid just straight up kills him.
Looking at these lanes now, they're starting to somewhat even up. They weren't really too far apart, but the gold now separating 4,000 in favor of 3,000 in favor of Vulcan. At this point in time, there's 3 kills for Zuna, 2 kills for Psycho Sid up top. He looks to be rushing an Abyssal Scepter as well. So it looks like he's trying to get a little of that magic damage for Kog'Maw in the fight as well.
And the mind game, I feel like they pulled off, even though the rune pages didn't get changed that much, but having Psycho Sid top lane Diana is not something anyone had on their scouting boards for him. Maybe he's played a little bit in solo queue, but that's a mandatory Cloud pick if you follow Vulcan. You're saying, all right, that's going to be a Jace top lane. That's a little strange for Psycho Sid, but I think we can handle it.
Right.
Let's go and do this thing. And it's been able to work out for them, especially now, 13 or 14 minutes into the game, just catching TSM off guard.
All right, Psycho Sid likes that Aurelia. You can blade surge around. You kind of get that aspect if you can get your Q onto somebody before you ult. You get the same in and out effect. You just get a little bit more AoE damage. Everybody likes that.
Totally get to just chase him down, and Mandatory Cloud keeping the blue buffs up. There's still no armor on Reginald. He can't fit armor into his Karthus build. Mandatory Cloud has been able to kind of spike him down. Yes, the odd one's being able to clear out some of these buffs, but even Xmithie's Lee Sin is actually turning out quite well. Brute Force ganking through wards and still making things work. It's the most successful of the 4 Lee Sins we've seen so far in the playoffs.
They are showing that they have used it to great effect here. Coming up to mid, he just seems to be, you know, what Odd One-esque. Always on the backside of Reginald, always there for them to get killed.
But the way the Mandatory Cloud ran into that lane as well, coming through the top side of the river, he has no fear. You can't go there if you're getting pressured back in the lane, but Reginald does not have presence right now because Mandatory Cloud is too much of a threat for him, and it's allowing Xmithie to poke around and maybe go for something here.
There's the minion wave. He went into that battle form, and I thought he was going to try to dive in for the fight. More poke onto Reginald. Reginald outside of the range, so the turret does not activate call for help. They're able to just get this one easy with free damage.
So first turret of the game at 15 minutes. That's very slow, but because we had standard lane matchups, the turrets didn't get pressured too much. And as we see, we were just talking about how much presence Vulcan had on the map, and it just pays in turrets when the other team can't pass the river.
So much poke, and you'd think you'd see that coming out a bit from the Xpecial and the team trying to hook, trying to get their poke down, lay down Dyrus' ult, but they need to start that fight engagement, or rather fight phase now. The laning phase isn't working for them.
And this game was completely even like 3 or 4 minutes ago, 1 kill to 1. It's just disaster started happening when Vulcan picked up those 3 kills. They gained the pressure, they got the dragon, now they've got 3 turrets, and TSM is completely on their heels. They still haven't recovered from those deaths.
This gold lead was 200 in favor of it's Vulcan at one point. Now it's about 7,000 in favor. I said that at the beginning, and I guess it was just about right. Not 700 anymore. It's 7,000. The first game is in favor of Team Solo Mid, but the momentum has been found by Vulcan here, 15 minutes into Game 2.
Infinity Edge got completed a while ago by Zunas, so he's been able to out-trade Wild Turtle as well. Mandatory Cloud might be getting counter-aggressed on a little bit, but he could turn this around if he wants to, even though Odd One's close.
Like he will decide to back off, continues to farm. He has set Reginald back a little bit in farm, hasn't even finished the 16-minute Rod of Ages. He actually went to go for the boots first. The global presence and that penetration kind of coming through, but that Rod is not stacking yet.
It's not that early Rod of Ages you see him get sometimes. Sometimes I've seen Reggie get that thing before 10 minutes.
Yep.
It's going to be a lot longer until he hits full power once he completes that item. And Xpecial not able to deny Zuna much CS whatsoever. They just kind of had to shove up and go back because TSM knows there's no defending turrets to go back to, and they're playing a little bit scared.
You know, Vulcan's been doing it well, and it would benefit them so much. Even this game, Mandatory Cloud for a blue, Zuna for a blue. The fights would almost be unstoppable. Odd One getting kind of caught out, might have been communicating with the team, takes a lot of free damage there.
And you know ManCloud wants to try and get the snipe around the edge. Instead, he just goes for Reggie. But that's a one-man army right there because he's basically taken out Reginald and the Odd One.
Just completely put them out. Reginald didn't even want to help the Odd One. He was more like, back out of that situation, please. So the Ignite is down, though, from ManCloud. I don't think it's going to matter. He's already outputting enough damage. He's going to be the finisher rather than the summoner spells. Pushing top still from Vulcan here. They are super aggressing. They're aggressing. Have super aggression on their advantages. There we go.
And Vulcan's not even really grouping up that much. They're just individually shoving their lanes and then roaming once that happens. So there's skirmishes that are happening instead of team fights, which is actually what you want to force with a Lee Sin jungler or even with the Jace in general, because Jace, unlike many champions, doesn't have a true ultimate. He's got the form swap, so he is more about skirmishes and pokes than full-on team fights, and that's what Vulcan has been able to force thus far.
You know what? I think they really liked Xmithie's choice of the Hex Drinker last game because they went out and they got a buy one, get one this time.
And it's another one of those things. They're not trying to find the team fight, so they just don't want to die to Requiems across the map.
Right.
And they're just going for the individual fights. able to dive Reginald, Hex Drinker's protection, heal and barrier on everyone else. Psycho Sid has a self-shield, so everyone has their own form of protection from a Requiem.
This is a very good composition, maybe why the Karthus was left up. We've seen teams kind of lead another team just into the hand that you want to see played. We talked about which hands would be played this time, and it looks like Vulcan has really seen the cards of TSM so far through. 18 minutes, 50 seconds on this one as we come up around 26-1 in favor of Vulcan, 3-0 in favor of Vulcan and turrets. And Xmithy still, this is the second time he was engaged on, but they're not able to do anything with it. It's just poking.
Wild Turtle's actually trying to pull off the juke.
Here it is, Xmithy's right in his face. He gets kicked back right into Mandatory Cloud's damage. They're still going to have Shockgate to get around here. Bloodwater's Crescendo just went off, but they cannot re-engage. Mandatory Cloud says, yes, we can go. Zuna Yellow from the background. The box goes down there. Going to be completely slowed here. It's going to be the Living Artillery. One more shot from Zuna. Can he capitalize on it? He has the mana, but he is not in range. It just misses on the flag toss. Out by the skin of his teeth. The kill coming in on the Wild Turtle. A barrier goes down as well. TSM scatters as they look to set up the defense.
And this is a total chaos skirmish. Bloodwater actually whipped his Crescendo, but TSM's trying to go in and maybe force a team fight. They do have Karth Assault and Rumble Ult. The Dragon is up. I wonder what's going to happen here, because after all that, Vulcan just picked up one kill despite expending what seemed like everything.
I don't think I've ever seen a team fight over a wall so much before they were actually able to get to the fight. One kill, however, picked up there, going for Vulcan. Now 7-1 from that 6-1, as it is now 20 minutes. They have a 7,000 gold lead as they're 200 off 30,000K this game.
They have been growing this gold lead for a while. Just hit the 30K threshold. Yep. 6 kills in a row for them, uncontested. Now TSM looks like they're trying to get something back here. There is a lot of Shock Blast poke coming down, but if TSM wants to get some objectives, they either have to kill, which is very hard against such a skirmish-based team who's trying to spread you out. What TSM would kind of want to do as a last-ditch effort is group. Even though they're down 7,000 gold and it's very unintuitive to group, it looks like that's what they're trying to do, because they need to get the Dragon and they need to get the goal closer.
It looks like Vulcan has just somehow found a way to pole vault themselves ahead in this game. Still holding the turret lead. The Muramana finished on Jace as Reginald just starts stacking that Rod of Ages.
A 20-minute, 30-second Muramana is really fast. Oftentimes you'll see that item completed around 25 minutes, but I think because Mandatory Cloud has had such free access exactly to the blue buffs this entire game, it's just allowed him to spam his spells even more and just have complete control of this game, allowing him that spike in power even more so. And just to expand on how much they're wanting to roam around, that's a Boots of Mobility Jace, because he really just wants to shove, roam around, and get the lane pressure going down.
Well, they have the vision. You also have a Sight Stone going on Xmithy. We saw Chowster do it as well, and Xmithy in his 2 times now played, and it's really been beneficial with vision as well as being able to escape. We saw them initiating on Xmithy multiple times just a few seconds ago, and they just back away.
It's a jungle gym for Lee Sin once he has that Sight Stone. You're not going to go chase a man in the jungle gym if you're a mech Yordle, so he's just not going to catch him.
No, you never, ever. Oh, forced to use the Crescendo. Back and forth, so Vulcan looked to play a little bit safe here, probably, but I don't know. This Mandatory Cloud going ham all day has really given them a different stride to their step.
And look at that poke coming from ManCloud. Even though Bloodwater did have to expend his ult, this could be the teamfight TSM's trying to get.
That Crescendo is down. This would be a good time to choose it. A lot of flashes. They have now gone all in. The equalizer goes down. They pull Bloodwater back into it, so they're going to lose 2. The damage is not there from Zuna.
So Vulcan doesn't actually want to teamfight this one. That was a 3v5. They're split pushing both of these lanes. Psycho Sid going top, Zuna pressuring bottom.
They're forced to back off, and it looks like that mid turret is still going to be able to be held here. No, it will not. Xmithy forced to safeguard back to minions. Zuna continues to push. He's getting a fresh wave behind him. Rumble now on to Psycho Sid in the top lane. Dire is forced to back off as they go tit for tat.
Gotta say, that was a win for TSM overall, getting the 2-for-1 and the mid turret. Even though the split push pressure drew them back, there was no actual turrets that went down in that situation. Psycho Sid still trying to press Darius a bit in that top lane.
That is very different. That's a little too much confidence coming in from Vulcan now. Mandatory Cloud is big, but that was them fully pressuring and trying to go over that to that turret without Crescendo. They just used it.
And the balance of Vulcan's team comp is going to come into testing mode pretty soon, as actually Xmithy gets caught up by Hook.
Xmithy is, there it is, the jungle gym. He gets out quite safe.
All right.
They don't decide to chase.
He can just put down a ward and jump away. That's what Lee Sin does. So I gotta say the balance of the composition will come into question here, because Zuna needs to hit huge amounts of items in order to be that late game, because so far Vulcan has been winning this game by scattering around, by creating mobility, Lee Sin's hopping around. Mandatory Cloud's running around on Jace with boots of mobility, and they're finding odd-numbered fights. They're shoving lanes, and they're keeping TSM scattered. Eventually, the game comes to a point where it shrinks, whether it shrinks around Baron buff or whether it shrinks around the opponent base, and Vulcan will have to fight all of TSM at once. They don't want to do that, but when they do, Zuna needs to be very, very powerful because he is their late-game threat. It's definitely not Lee Sin, and they're going to need... They may or may not even go for the ore items as this game moves on. So it will be on Zuna for a while. Even though Zuna actually doesn't have too much to do with how they got here, he'll have a lot to do with how they end it.
And this is where it becomes different too, Jet, because you have someone you want to be able to protect, right, in the late game. But they kind of haven't given themselves that many champions that can do that. Yeah, Diana's going to dive in, but she'll be in the back line as well, going for you on the opposite side.
It's just Bloodwater and Zuna. They have to buddy up and just hope that they can defend it because this skirmishing is going to be doing its own thing.
Ooh, odd one waiting in the bush here. I don't think they really thought that one was coming in. Diana trying to lock them down, but they are both forced to run from this one. Smithy says, you go that way. I'll take the low road. I don't think either of them are going to make it. Dyrus now to chase this one down. The flag toss flash out as well. Smithy with the fast fingers.
Good counter gank there by the odd one. It's very similar to what he did about 20 minutes ago when Smithy actually flashed into the brush and they almost turned around to kill. But they have seemed to stop the pressure a little bit coming up from Vulcan. Vulcan seems to have slowed down since they lost those two people in mid lane. They're trying to split push a little bit, but TSM has finally recovered a bit. It's still that 7,000 gold lead. They're going to have to hold it here for a while until they can shrink the game and get some team fights.
They need to get wards all across that bottom and top side. Zuna by himself right now does have a bit of safety with Voidoo's in that range of being able to get out, but he needs to do it as soon as he sees somebody. He will start to back. That window that TSM just fought under is actually coming up quite soon again. We remember, you know, Odd One came in with the Cataclysm there. Reginald completely flashed into the fight. That's going to be up in about 30 to 40 seconds. So TSM may be looking to fight here quite soon again.
And everyone in Vulcan shopped at the same time, which may tell me that they've signaled themselves to go towards an objective. So everyone bought up because they might be trying to force some kind of Baron fight here at 25 minutes. They say, everybody shop, we're going for this. Finish your items. Red Elixir obviously has been on Zuna. There's a pink ward that's been picked up by Bloodwater because they want to get control of an area. Obviously, Psycho Sid has kind of hit his item thresholds as well, so they could be going for something pretty big here.
And we should know, you know, obviously Tristana has been a big champion for Zuna. He has taken a lot of damage throughout their Baron explorations when they go to fight. It's hard to position, especially when you don't have somebody that can jump out. So when they go for Baron, you know, eyes on Zuna, we'll see if he can get himself into a favorable spot this time.
So the one thing that they can keep in mind is that Vulcan is on the blue side this time, so if they want to fall back from Baron, they can fall back into their own jungle instead of the deeper into the pit. But it is still actually a very dangerous place. I mean, I think it was Dyrus actually said Baron is just a noob magnet sometimes. That's Baron, like, why would you put something in the game that just makes you lose if you do it wrong? And that's actually what Vulcan is in danger of doing if they force in the wrong way.
It really does throw a toss-up into the mix. Psycho Sid just on the outside. I believe he could zero out Wild Turtle right now. That stand aside is going to be the only thing that Wild Turtle has. He dodges the Q. That's going to be big for him. He stops a bit of the damage. The ultimate goes out. Requiem coming as well. That's going to be dodged. And Wild Turtle's going to have to walk out of this. Holy moly! The front end damage coming from that. The Q missed, but he's going to be able to finalize it himself.
Psycho Sid really timed that Zhonya's Hourglass well. It calmed down Wild Turtle, it dodged the Requiem, and it gave him the cooldown control he needed to finish off that spike on Wild Turtle.
That was some crazy damage. Wild Turtle knows what he's up against, and you could say that's going to put fear into him for the next fight.
Absolutely. I mean, he can't even think to catch his axes because the skill shots come out right on top of him, so it definitely takes down his damage output. And this is the Baron force that Vulcan has been thinking about for a while.
They have that flashback up on Reginald. This could be the initiation. Dyrus on one side, the equalizer goes down. I was going to say that's a flash, Requiem, boom, bang, but they decide, no, they have Baron.
They got Baron. They can shop up. Again, they can then go for the extended pushes. They really got that uncontested because of the kill they were able to get onto Wild Turtle. And that's the control they want. Now's the moment where they have to make their fight, because I feel like this is actually the window where they have to capitalize against TSM.
We'll see what they can do as they clean up their jungle now already. Zuna looks to be building the Guardian Angel before the last Whisper here.
So Zuna, that just kind of tells me that they're going for a final push even sooner. Because a lot of times, back in the day in Season 2, teams would rush the Guardian Angel before kind of their final pushes and say, once we have the GA, we're going to have a couple extra lives in our final fight. We're going to win it, and then we're going to finish the game. And going for it this early instead of going for either a Bloodthirster or a Last Whisper or even a Blade of the Ruined King, which we've seen a lot of Kog'Maws go for, and going for that really late game 6 damage item Kog'Maw. He's going for a little bit of defense, which tells me they might be trying to stick around for a bit and have the crazy fight. Another thing could be just the fact that they don't have a protection team at all, so he's not allowed to go Glass Cannon. They could be doing either one of these things.
And now 28 minutes in, I think it's time to kind of look at the CS here. It's been even for a lot of games, and it kind of still tells that story. A big discrepancy between Mandatory Cloud and Reginald in middle, but you can easily give that up to the blue buffs that Mandatory Cloud has been getting and just been able to hit the minion camps in the jungle as well.
And even the boots of mobility, he's not really been a mid laner. He's just been a laner. He's like, where are the most minions? I am running to that place and killing them, as he's doing now in the bottom lane. They're just trying to do the triple push again. Teams do this when they have the big lead a lot of times. They would just split push all 3 lanes and hope to win just by being stronger than the enemy team. Psychosid's got this turret for free.
They're going to squeeze in TSM to that middle lane. Like you said, Psychosid top, able to pressure now. Jace taking out a turret down bottom, so that just becomes a lot of global gold picked up there for the team. 5-1 in turrets here. Got to remember that Vulcan in one of their games actually shut CLG out in turrets. So they do have the means to really just take a game for their opponent.
And here comes the push. They are all trying to get up onto TSM. It's difficult to dive onto a Karthus. There's actually a Zhonya's Hourglass that Reginald has as well, so if he gets in the right spot under the turret, he can be there for a while. But the amount of damage that Zuna's getting down on this mid turret puts TSM in pressure situation.
Zuna is in a very scary spot here. He's being so patient, though. He waits on the flash. He saw that TSM could not re-engage on that. The exhaust goes down. It's quite early. They haven't put too much damage onto him yet, but he can't turn around. The kite's not there. Here comes ManCloud, though. They turn the corner. Are they going to re-initiate? Zuna's going to go down. A Cathian Surprise can do some good damage and win them this fight. They cut up Reginald early. They have a lot of health bars for the Requiem to come out, and they are still going to fight. ManCloud takes another one down. They drop it special as well. Bloodwater is on the bottom side. The quadra kill from Mandatory Cloud, and the ace against TSM.
Cleans it up. Despite falling from the Requiem, he did work in that fight. Psychosid ran all the way down from the top lane, and that was really a 5v4 for a really long time until Psychosid came for the cleanup. Now Vulcan has 3 people to try to push these turrets. Diana is a fairly quick turret pusher as well, and this looks like an inhibitor, maybe more.
This is huge for Vulcan right here. The momentum wave is definitely being rode. 7, 2, and 3 for ManCloud in mid as he picks up that quadra kill at 30 minutes into the game. 52,000 to 38,000 is the gold lead right now. Almost 15K separates these teams.
And when Mandatory Cloud gets going on Jace, Jace doesn't necessarily fall off if he gets enough AD. That hypercharge will just kill a man in 3 shots near the end of the game. That's just his W. I think it's hypercharge. There's a word for it. I'm gonna make sure. He's in hammer stance. I can't read it. I'll get back to it later.
There it is. Hypercharge.
Hypercharge. Awesome. Good job, Jet.
There you go.
Yeah, Mandatory Cloud is gonna kill a lot more men later on in this game, and that was just a great fight for them. They extended their goal lead. They used their Baron buff to their advantage. They got the inhibitor, and they actually took TSM's best shot there, I feel like. TSM used everything to get onto Zuna, and that was before he had his Guardian Angel. So now that he has it, it's going to be even more difficult for TSM to try to engage something.
So Mandatory Cloud with practically a blue belt this game. He has not lost that buff pretty much the entire time. Like we said, Zuna would be the next one to get it on the team, if not Psychosid on Diana. And wow, Mandatory Cloud gonna have to be careful here. They go in for a little bit of a flag toss. The flash from Chaucer is down, though, so that long initiation isn't there just yet. TSM Dire's getting caught out in the bottom lane. It's going to be a 2v1 here as they start to lock him down. The crescendo will be used. They are trying to lock out the equalizer here. They've wasted quite a bit. Xfinity needs someone to safeguard to. He's got the Sightstone. You're going to have Mandatory Cloud in mid to continue the pressure and stop the engagement.
That was a lot of ultimates that Vulcan used, and they might be getting themselves into trouble here with a really weird skirmish.
They just used Crescendo. They lost the fight where they used Crescendo and went in again. Are they going to do it? Oh my gosh, they absolutely dive, buddy, onto Reginald. 3-1 there.
Reggie popped his Zhonya's, and everyone's just like backed off. By the way, we can all just leap back onto you after this Defy wears off and finish him off. So now they have a 41-second window where there is a 5v4, but that turret is full health, and there's no minions for Vulcan either.
Oddone tries to go in there. Do not see why he didn't Cataclysm. They would have had a lot of damage just put onto Xmithy with that turret aggro. They look for this minion wave to come in. They have the siege. It's quite low, so it looks to just be pushed out. And Vulcan is probably going to have to back here. This could be a mistake moment if they continue to pressure too hard.
So they also realize, this is Vulcan, that the game has become a matter of fighting. There has been that Aegis that was completed by Xmithy finally. Obviously a really late Aegis, but it's when they need it, because this is the moment where they are potentially fighting 8 more seconds of that 5-4, but Reggie does have Requiem. Vulcan has to be very careful about this situation.
Wow, ManCloud coming in, just finishing it off with that W. They move out of the base. The inhibitor is going to be open, and this opens up so much pressure as well. They can toy with Team Solo mid. They just have to be careful on the objectives they posture for now.
And you can see they're all going back again. They have a decent amount of gold to spend, and they're going to set up for the next Baron. Every big move by Vulcan this game has been set up by one good play by essentially an individual or by a skirmish. And I think they're going to try to force something similar once again, or because TSM's base is so debilitated, Vulcan might just get the Baron for free.
Mandatory Cloud getting quite big. The Bloodthirster now in his hands. Like you said, Reginald with that Zonia's also now building into the death cap for himself. It looks like to be a Last Whisper / Phantom Dancer combo that Wild Turtle's trying to piece together right now.
He's just trying to get all of his items. A lot of times Wild Turtle will always go Last Whisper before even a Zeal. It's one of his kind of unique trademarks on AD carries. He really loves the armor penetration more so than anything else. I'm actually not sure if it's the right choice or not, but Wild Turtle has fallen pretty far behind in this game. Draven needed to exercise his power on Kog'Maw before this point, and at this point he's playing hyper catch-up, because even if he hits 6 items, he wouldn't be able to take him down.
They just got heal back up as well. Requiem is up, so they have that pretty much just kind of closed off area wish, if they will, from Bloodwater along with his heal, and then the crescendo to really change the fight around. We'll have to keep an eye on how that works as well. Like I said, keep an eye on Zuna.
And Dyrus is in a very difficult situation in the top lane here, because there's waves of super minions. Well, never mind. The waves of super minions are in the mid, and TSM's clearing those out. So he really just has to worry about getting 1v1 by Psycho Sid. Right. So TSM trying to hold this off and potentially trying to force a 4v4 in a choke point.
Psycho Sid is just going all out in the base right now. He wants to get some damage on the inhibitor, and that's really, like you're saying, what Dyrus has to worry about. That the top of the bottom lane getting pushed in.
Fight.
He is going to go hard onto Dyrus. The Ignite goes down, forces the flash there, and he knows he has to straight up fight, so he's not worried. And
he's just going to auto-attack down this inhibitor while Vulcan peels off for the rest of Baron. So Dyrus was not able to hold on that, and it's to be expected because of how farmed Psycho Sid is in this situation. And here's the fight.
They have to be really careful. Xmithy is not tanky. They can do Baron, but they need the whole team. Mandatory Cloud's going to go down. He only gets a bit of damage onto Reginald. They need to get off of this Baron. Xmithy, you don't have HP. You just have a bit of armor, bud. They are backing off. They could try to re-go on this, but it's just going to be the deterrent. Psycho Sid as well, still in base.
That was a very good catch by TSM, but like you said, it is probably just a deterrent. They're
going in on Reginald. They won't resonating strike in. They get the flash from Reginald, so he's forced to walk around for the rest of the fight, but this is not good. All the AoE is just crushing them down. Zuna left on the backside. Bloodwater and the team forced to run. They're keeping the oracles. Psycho Sid still in base, but Dyrus is not taking damage. He knows the engagement just needs to be a back and forth.
A very questionable crescendo by Bloodwater. Where was the damage supposed to come from? But they're just harassing him down, poking him, getting killed.
Almost gets a double kill. Can't get out. Special dives into the pit. Does he die from Baron? Yes. Oh, no. The Requiem as well, so he would have gone down, and it looks like they make it out of this, or Bloodwater rather, onto Sona.
And TSM is still trying to get this Baron down. They know that their base is in such peril that if they don't get this Baron now, they will never be able to defend it. Xmithy is still here. He's got 1,000 health and his smite and his flash up. This could be a steal opportunity. There is a ward in the Baron pit that TSM doesn't have vision of.
Sharing is caring, and it looks like Xmithy wants to share a little bit more. They stop doing Baron damage, and they're going to get hit here. He tries to put them on the outside. They're still able to get it. He threw his smite down, and it only allowed Odd1 to pick it up. ManCloud just on the outside here, Jap, but his gate was used to get himself there.
Mandatory Cloud doesn't want TSM to be able to get back into the base because those super minions are trucking down at the Nexus turret. There's still 6 seconds until Reggie gets up. They might actually lose a Nexus turret as well.
So they lose a Nexus turret there. The minions just spawn. Every 30 seconds you're going to get that. That was 2 seconds too late. The top turret almost going down as well, and the inhibitor, the odd one, needs to go back, but he doesn't have to worry about his health or mana right now. Vulcan also resetting.
All right. Got a breather now. That stuff happened. TSM has Baron on 3 people. They have 2 inhibitors missing and only 2 turrets left on the map. Vulcan doesn't necessarily have the better teamfight comp because Reginald is getting bigger items, but they do have Zuna, who is getting later and later on Kog'Maw. They still have the 11,000 gold lead, but they will have to be able to close out a team essentially with Baron. There will be this window here where TSM has Baron on 3, and it is dangerous for Vulcan to initiate. Vulcan's move there to try to end the game was very dangerous, and it kind of backfired a bit. They were hoping to end it through split pushing and just craziness, chaos like they have the rest of the game, but they got a little bit antsy. The crescendo from Bloodwater did end up killing a bunch of them and eventually gifted TSM the Baron buff. So we'll see how Vulcan plays this one, because it is very dangerous getting close to TSM right now.
So looking at Zuna's build now as we move on to, what's coming up in the late game core items, building the Guardian Angel is kind of a plateau on damage during that period of time, which means TSM built armor, but now he's going for a Bilgewater, not the Last Whisper.
And TSM wants to fight sooner rather than later.
And it looks like they are actually going to go in. They're going to have to see how Zuna fares. He flashes out. They push each other back. A great Dragon kick. Dragon Rage coming out from Xmithie there to stop that fight. And Psycho Sid still giving Dyrus harassment in mid.
Oh, and this could be very interesting. TSM charging at Vulcan.
The crescendo is down. The heal is down as well. The Requiem is up for Reginald. They're going to go down, taking down the auto one there. Zuna coming back in. Everybody on the acceleration gate. Reginald is forced to run, but he turns. The Defile is only going to be in defense with the Zonias. They pop down Wild Turtle. It's going to be Psycho Sid on the back. Another Crescent Strike takes him. The Requiem is not going to do enough. Vulcan has a free base of Team Solo Mid, and only Dyrus is awake.
TSM tried to take advantage of them having Baron, but Vulcan just turned it around. The flank from Psycho Sid looks like it ended the game.
Game 3, Vulcan says we want it. They're going to push it against Team